Hi, welcome back. In part 2 of this 4-part series, we visited Breitenau, learned about its history, what happened during World War II, and what the American soldiers found when they got there. This week in part 3, we'll visit Berlin, and with the Gedächtniskirche as backdrop, we'll learn about its congregation, what happened to it in World War II, and how that impacts contemporary society in Germany. Hello, good people. My name is Janice, and welcome to Dignity. If you're new here, check out this channel trailer, and please consider subscribing. The Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church, commonly known as Gedächtniskirche, is a Protestant church in Berlin built between 1891 and 1895 in the neo-Gothic style. The church was erected to honor Elector Wilhelm I. The backstory behind the destruction of this long-standing landmark turns on the United Kingdom's policy on aerial bombings. Initially, those bombings only took place against targets and against infrastructure such as ports and railways of direct military importance. That policy was abandoned to include civilian industrial targets that aided the German war effort. Gradually, that was abandoned in favor of area bombing, large-scale bombing of German cities to destroy housing and civilian infrastructure, and by extension, large-scale civilian casualties. The Battle of Berlin, launched in November 1943, was a concerted air campaign against the German capital. The second major raid was on the night of November 22nd to 23rd, 1943. It was the most effective raid by the Royal Air Force on Berlin. The raid caused extensive damage to the residential areas west of the center, as well as the Gedächtniskirche. This is Gerda Kirschen, mother-in-law to noted Canadian author Eleanor Florence. Ms. Kirschen shared her eyewitness account about that second major raid. For the first few years of the war, we had an occasional air raid during the night, but nothing too serious. When the air raid warning sounded, our family went down into our root cellar. The warning system was very well defined. We listened to the radio, and it would say, "Bombers coming from Hannover, Braunschweig." Then we knew that Berlin was the target. Our neighbors listened to BBC, even though it was a serious crime. They always knew what was happening before we did. They would go outside and bang their pots and pans. And when we heard the noise, we knew we would jump out of bed and listen to the radio and wait for the official warning. In November 1943, the first big raid took place on Berlin. I remember it so well. I was 15 years old, and it was the first time I saw a dead body. We were in our cellar, and we heard a tremendous crash, and the whole house shook. The biggest bomb, called an air mine or blockbuster, had landed in our neighborhood. The earth was soft peat, so most of the houses just moved on their foundations, but the houses closer to the blast were destroyed. When we left our cellar, we went to see where the bomb had landed. Then we saw one of our neighbors. He was dead. It was a really frightening sight because the percussion had mutilated him, and his eyes were hanging out of his head. That was the night that the Gedächtniskirche was extensively damaged in the air raid. Although there was a consensus in favor of rebuilding the church, how that would be done was a continued debate until well into the late 1950s. A decision to tear down the old spire provoked a public outcry in which the ruined tower was characterized as the heart of Berlin, Der hohle Zahn, meaning the hollow tooth, and is preserved for posterity. Since the church is located in the heart of capitalist West Berlin, it also became a symbol of defiance against communist oppression. The tower is definitely a big symbol for Berlin, said Wolfgang Köhler, chairman of the Memorial Church Management Board. As a ruin, it is certainly the most important memorial for reconciliation in Berlin and possibly in Germany. The damaged spire of the old church has been retained and its ground floor has been made into a memorial hall. One notable congregant von der Gedächtniskirche was Fritz Julius Elsass, born on July 11, 1890. He studied law and received his doctorate in political science in 1912. During his student days, he converted to Christianity and was baptized in the Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church on August 19, 1913. In 1919, he joined the liberal German Democratic Party and was mayor of Berlin from 1931. Immediately after the Nationalist Socialists came to power, he was removed from office. After a failed coup attempt of July 1944, Elsass twice gave shelter in his house to Karl Grödeler, although as a Jew he himself was particularly endangered. On August 10, 1944, Fritz Elsass was arrested, taken to the Sachsenhausen concentration camp. He was murdered without trial. In a letter dated November 6, 2007, Die Gedächtniskirche received this message: because of this church and the cantata service on June 9th, I have been able to forgive the German people and German pilot for the death of my father, George North Watson, RAMC, on September 13, 1943, on the hospital ship Newfoundland off Salerno. I believe that God does too. I feel a lot better now. I hope you found this video insightful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Mark #TeenDignity in the comments below. Share the video. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. Next week, we'll move on to examining behind the scenes of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. With parts 1 and 2 in this playlist. I'll meet you over there. And in the meantime, be well and remember to live your life with dignity. Bye-bye.